The kind that says, "This isn't your scene," like I'd wandered into the wrong movie by mistake. And at the center, Victoria Hale, all sharp smiles and scarlet sequins. Body built for magazine covers and a tongue just as tailored. She's 32, the CEO who never met a headline she didn't like, and tonight she wanted me to be the punchline. So there I was. Amara Johnson, black, 46, billionaire CEO, sitting by myself at a table that probably cost more than my first apartment, in a gown that wasn't screaming for attention. It just sat there. The color of embers, cool and controlled, like I'd dipped dusk in silk. My hair, pulled back neat, every move calculated, glass of still water instead of champagne. Not because I don't like a drink. I'm supposed to flinch at a party trick in a room full of rented smiles. I just watched Victoria. She swirled her wine like it was a blade and leaned in, her red lips curled. But I didn't come with an entourage or a publicist shouting my name. I just walked in, quietly, taking measure of the same kind of room that's tested me 1,000 times. Victoria, though, thrived on the performance. Her dress was fire engine red, cut to be seen, every step a news story, every laugh an invitation to join her little game. The whispers got louder. Is that orange? At a gala. She didn't bring a date. But none of this was about clothes or manners. It never is. It was about reminding everyone who's in and who's out. Another twist, there's always someone in the corner writing it all down. And across the room, a Hong Kong investor, Kinji Watanabe, whispered to his wife, "They don't know who she is." And maybe they didn't, but I didn't need them to. Victoria pushed harder. "Excuse me, is this event still exclusive?" She winked at her friends. Maybe someone should check her wristband. Security? But Victoria wasn't done. She got up, heels clicking, all that crimson flashing, and stepped straight toward my table. The crowd circled, pretending not to stare. Her voice was a blade. "Sweetheart, if you're lost, the service entrance is down the hall. That dress would look perfect carrying trays." Someone actually clapped. For a second, I remembered being younger, turned away at another gala. But the laughter was thinner now. "Oops," she said. "Guess dry cleaning isn't part of charity." I looked down at the stain, scarlet blooming across orange, like a wound, and then up at her, face calm. I picked up my napkin, laid it over the stain, not to hide it, but to mark it. Another record in my quiet ledger. Victoria waved for security. "Someone, please escort this woman out." 2 guards hesitated. Something in my presence, maybe, or maybe the fact that half the room was now filming on their phones. The journalist mouthed, "She's really doing this." The guards approached. Victoria was radiant with victory, sure she'd won. I met her eyes, not blinking. Calm, steady, ancient. And then, quietly, I pulled out my phone, dialed, said, "Initiate Protocol 7." Victoria cackled, calling an Uber, but her voice was nervous. On the other end, "Yes, Miss Johnson. Pulling up the Hale contract now." The crowd's curiosity shifted. Someone recognized my name. Whispers growing. The host frowned. If that's Amara Johnson, Victoria just made the mistake of her career. I spoke, my voice not loud but resonant. Effective immediately, freeze all negotiations. Withdraw pending wires, cancel the deal. The hush was thunderous. The jazz band lost its place. The host's jaw dropped. Victoria fumbled her phone. Her fingers shook as she read the news. Silence like a verdict. And in that silence, I saw the room shift, servers quietly refilling my water. Women who had once laughed raising their glasses in apology, the crowd no longer a jury but witnesses. Victoria tried to rally her friends, but they backed away. Her empire of applause shrank with every second. I didn't gloat. I just let the moment hang, letting everyone feel what power really sounds like. Sometimes it's a voice. My wine-stained gown catching the city lights like fire trailing into the night. Behind me, the room was silent, haunted by what they'd just witnessed. The journalist whispered, Some will say a black CEO humiliated a bully and erased a fortune with a single call. But for me, it was just another promise kept. Proof that the rooms that doubt you today are the same rooms you'll own tomorrow. Now, tell me, what would you have done? Drop your thoughts below. Who was right? Where's the line between arrogance and justice? I want to hear it. Maybe you think that's where it ended, that I swept out of that ballroom. Power reclaimed, lesson delivered, and the world just clapped along as the curtains fell. But real life's messier. You know what I mean? The echoes don't die the second the doors close, and sometimes the real story doesn't even start until the audience goes home, shaking their heads, pretending they weren't a part of it. That night, as I stepped into the city's midnight air, heels clicking on marble, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Headlines, emails, messages, some from allies I'd never seen, others from enemies who suddenly wanted to clear the air. The city glowed out there, cold and endless, and for a moment, standing alone under the streetlights, I felt the exhaustion hit, the cost of holding your head high when every room dares you to lower it. I should have gone home, called it a night, but instead, her question stopped me, just for a second. Because the answer is, of course not. Control is a myth, at least for people like us. What you have is endurance. But what she really wanted was to break real stories, the kind that make people squirm, that force a room to see itself in a new light. Tonight, she said, I think I found one. That's the twist most people miss. These stories don't belong to just one person. They echo out, touch strangers, change things in ways you can't script. Nina would go on to publish her piece. Not about scandal or luxury, but about how power shifts when one woman refuses to play by the rules set by someone else. Her story wasn't a headline. It was a mirror. Suddenly, the comments section exploded. Some called me a hero, others called me arrogant. A few called it reverse discrimination. Which is always what happens when people get uncomfortable watching the balance tip, even for a second. And then, days later, the ripple hit the place no one expected, the Hale boardroom. Suddenly remembering all the times we'd crossed paths in boardrooms where my signature mattered more than my skin or my dress. He wanted to meet, to apologize, to explore possibilities. I didn't reply. Some doors, once closed, stay closed. But the wildest message came from Kenji Watanabe, the investor from Hong Kong. He reached out, not with an offer, but with a memory. He wrote, Years ago, you walked out of a deal with me because you didn't like the way the room felt. I didn't understand it then. Tonight I did. Thank you for reminding us that silence is not the absence of power, but sometimes its purest form. I sat with that for a long time, just staring at the screen, thinking about all the rooms, all the years, all the times I bit my tongue or forced a smile. Sometimes you win by raising your voice. Other times, you win by walking away. That's not weakness. That's knowing when the fight isn't worth your peace. You want the truth? Part of me felt vindicated, yeah. But another part, the deeper part, just felt tired. Tired of being a lesson. Tired of being a symbol. Tired of having to be 10 times better just to be called equal. I hope someday, Nina or someone like her writes a story about a woman who doesn't have to endure, who just gets to be. But until then, I'll keep showing up, wine stains and all. A week later, Victoria tried to do damage control. Apologies, statements. A glossy interview where she claimed it was all a misunderstanding. But people weren't buying it. The tide had turned. The ballroom that had once crowned her now whispered about her in hallways. You could feel the shift, subtle but seismic. Some said I'd gone too far, should have forgiven, saved the deal, saved face. Others said I didn't go far enough, that I should have sued, should have dragged her all the way down. Maybe they're both wrong. Maybe real power is just knowing you can write your own ending, then choosing to leave some pages blank for others to fill. So here's the thing. Stories don't end when the main character exits. They keep spreading, sparking debate, changing people who thought they were just watching from the sidelines. Maybe that's the point. Maybe dignity isn't about revenge or even victory. Maybe it's about giving the next person a little more room to stand tall, a little more courage to claim their space. You saw how it played out. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to fight for your place at the table? Or seen someone else have to? Where's the line? When do you stay silent? When do you speak out? When do you walk away? Drop your thoughts below. Share your story. Because sometimes, what happens after the doors close is where the real change begins.